Hey Bomb Blog, little bit of a follow-up video from my previous video on my particular setup for streaming, recording, and doing editing. One of the things I drew a lot of attention on from coworkers was my macro setups. How do I control some of my streams? So that was going to be kind of the focus of today, where I got some of the ideas and what led me to where I got to. Of course, I started with macro keys on a keyboard. The Logitech G710 has 5 kind of programmable sets, but it is pretty much limited to key combinations, which OBS and Premiere, a lot of them can do your control shifts, Fs, combinations, and you can get so far with that. But then I really kind of wanted a dedicated one where if I was using it for one thing, it wouldn't accidentally do something else in another app. So I started going custom, getting into the F13s and stuff not commonly used. And that's where I started to look at the custom 3D print solution. So, of course, where I got that from, Dave Madison put in a post that I found when I was doing research, and he has a really good layout of how to do it. The 3D printing part, I actually found the model that he linked to out on Thingiverse, but it has the whole diagrams of it, the switchboard assembly, kind of how it works. Kind of sample little, kind of tells you where to go for some of the pieces, the Arduino code. A lot of credit to him, and a lot of people seem to have really enjoyed how he laid that out. And that worked really well for me for a good period of time. And here you can kind of see my sample little setup. I ended up doing it with 2 different types of keys so I could feel if I was clicking the bottom row or the top row with a little bit different tactile keys. So on one side was red and one side was blue. So they even had an audible difference of when I clicked them, and I could really tell what I was clicking on. So from there, I started digging. I was like, what's better than that? What can do profiles? What can do some fun stuff? And that's what led me to StreamDeck. So let's start taking a look at what StreamDeck is. So StreamDeck offers, of course, this is not sponsored. I bought a StreamDeck out of my own money because it was something that I was really kind of intrigued by, thought was awesome. So they make a couple of different models. You have the standard Stream Deck, which is the one I operate on. You have the Mini, which only has 6 keys. You have an XL, which is massive, but it'd be a whole lot of fun to play around with. And there's even an option to buy an app where you can turn your phone up and do similar setups. For those that want to try some of the Stream Deck, that may be a viable option, and I had actually thought about it. Of course, there's software where you can actually fully program the keypad through the software, and I'll get into my little setup here shortly. But you'll notice on the front you pick a profile and you lay out the keys for it, and you can even have folders where you click a folder and you can jump inside of it, as well as along the side is all the custom actions, which there's a SDK out there and JavaScript and all sorts of stuff you can do. So I'll go into the plugins here in a little bit here. So actually I'll jump straight into it. These are some of the known plugins that are listed on StreamDeck plugins. Everything from Apple Mails to controlling your Wi-Fi on Mac OS to Apple scripts, audio switchers, countdown timers, displaying your CPU usage, Discord for gaming, all sorts of stuff. Home automation, home assistant, Minecraft, OBS, of course, which is one you see me use it heavily for. Shadow Play if you're using an NVIDIA graphics card to record stuff. Spotify, and it goes on. And there's even, I found a number of forums where people are making things that aren't necessarily posted here. Bar Raider tends to be one of the ones I found a lot of stuff in their forums. With cool stuff from. So, FYI, just because you don't see it out of the box doesn't mean it's not a possibility of something you could work with on it. So, let's kind of jump in. I'll show you the physical layout of mine particularly, and then kind of walk through some of the buttons of what I've got. So as you can kind of see, mine, simple. You'll notice it's actually fairly flat, so it could lay flat. It has little feet on the bottom, so you could lay it flat if you like to. I prefer to use the little nice built-in stand that they have, which is literally just kind of sets back into little notches, but it's so that when it's sitting on the desk, it's tilted up so I can see the actual keys and it's more aimed towards me. So let's kind of go through pushing some buttons on it. You'll see switching between headphones and speakers. You can see as I go through the different mics on my system, which ones are on and which ones are off. I can easily control it. Along the bottom are some of my pre-programmed actions, like it'll do a series of steps. And you can see it works through all the steps and then gives you a check mark when it's actually made it through the process. This particular add-in, like sometimes you just want to turn the audio down in YouTube or just the audio up in your game, that lets you do it. Now you can see going into an OBS folder, I have a whole nother series of things like record. You can see which mics are turned on in OBS. Scenes are along the top, even drilling down into which cameras are active. This would be where it'd be nice to have a little bit the XL to be able to fit all of that cameras, mics, all on one screen. So I haven't quite dialed in the organization that I want. But even I use an intro and outro, so it can actually start recording, set off the intro, switch to a screen, muting mics, and doing the whole intro setup. Where I don't do it with, makes it so I make less mistakes. So I absolutely love that. Okay, let's jump over to the actual software and have a look at that. So here you have the StreamDeck software, and it's fairly straightforward. This is kind of my default home. You notice there I have an OBS, a games, cameras, audio adjustments, and even what my CPU is currently doing. My mics and my audio, just because in day-to-day operations, as far as like Zoom, Teams meetings, the basics, I kind of really want to control mics and audio playback really quickly, so I leave that on my home screen. As well as kind of along the bottom, I have some setups. Like if I click work, when I sign in the morning, it automatically launches Teams, Outlook, all the apps that I kind of do for not my normal fire up in the morning. Same with BombGuard for remote support is I need a couple of things to make that happen, VPNs and other things, so it'll start launching and go through those setups. Streaming, like I want OBS, I want my audio set up, this, that, and the other thing, so it goes through and does all that for me. Now you'll notice even in the app, I can click on the folder, see what's inside of it, and you can actually see record is actually actively lit because I'm actively recording, and which mic it is actually pulling from. And you can see some of the different screens I have, as well as down the side you will see all the different plugins I have tied into it. So you could launch websites, hotkeys, text. Let's see what else is in here. Streamlabs, StreamDeck. You could even do like soundboard effects if you wanted to randomly like do an applause or a clap or something into a stream you're doing. That can be done with a StreamDeck. YouTube, where you can do chat messages, control center for brightness for it, hardware information and muting. You actually see the toggle audio device that I use pretty heavily. Bar Raiders, a bunch of his OBS commands, SoundDeck for clipping audio and recording. Like if you wanted to play a game and record something somebody just said and then play it back, that's one of those tricks you hear from some of the streamers. You can actually do it with a StreamDeck. But again, you see Bar Raider again, advanced launchers, process killers, wind tools for drive information, audio mixers, power plan switching, card info, switching primary monitors, all sorts of stuff. Even down to voice mod that I played with at some point, where you can turn voice changers on and off and sound robotic and kind of do some cool things with streams and pick a random voice, background effects, all sorts of stuff. But you'll notice there's even a more actions. So let's see here. Does that give me what I want? StreamDeck. Let's pop that screen up there. So you'll notice it has a whole set of a lot of those things I've added. But if there was other things like games and channel statistics and mix it up and stock tickers and on and on and on of things you could get from stuff you could search. Password, key pass style stuff, Unity, stuff built for building VR environments. Okay, let's jump back to just the Stream Deck. Say, for instance, let's go look at work. And you'll notice when I double click on it, you can see Open Edge, Outlook, and Teams are kind of my defaults for when I log into work, because I use one browser just for work to help isolate stuff for work and stuff for home. But you'll notice it is really simple, really easy, and you could actually take and do search over here. I need a delay between things opening. I need X, Y, and Z, but that is an easy drag and drop into here, as well as reordering. And each one you click on, you can put a title, you can put a time. If you need to open it a certain way, like in safe mode or something like that, you can easily do any of that and then hit the trash if you don't want it and go back out. And you could do that for any of these. You look at this particular one, should be giving me more information. Come on. Play nice. There it goes. I was being a little figure. I was like, it should give me. You'll notice I can switch between inputs or outputs, communications, but I can pick my Rode mic versus my big speakers. Which audio source, feedback, sounds, specific devices, or you can even do like my default audio. And as you can kind of see, there are a ton of audio sources on my particular system. So it just makes life a little bit easier. But yeah, this is one of the, and you even can have copy a profile, make another profile. One of the other things, let's see if it'll show me. Yes, you can do a profile that when a particular application launches, and which is your default when it loads up. But say, for instance, you want a setup just for Adobe Premiere or just for OBS, you can go, hey, when StreamDeck detects OBS launches, put it in this setup and put that on there. So really kind of cool. And you can actually add your Twitter accounts, your YouTube accounts, if you want it to interact with those. But you can tell it when to go to sleep, how bright it is, all sorts of stuff. So hopefully that gives you guys a little bit of an intro of some of what this is capable of, and hopefully some ideas. Go out there and see what you can do with it.